I went to therapy when I was 19. I think it was right after the second World Open because my head got too big in a bad way. And I started thinking that I'm the only one in the world. Like I'm the best of the best, and no one can ever beat me.
Welcome to the Iron Mind podcast. What separates the elite from the merely good? Follow me as I explore the makeup of elite athletes. What helps them come through when the pressure is greatest and the stakes the highest?
Hi, my name is Ali, and today's episode is a special one. We're joined by none other than, in my opinion, the god of squash, Ramy Ashour. Ramy doesn't really need an introduction. Nicknamed the artist, he's easily one of the most talented squash players of all time. Ramy made history early, becoming the youngest ever world junior champion at 16 and going on to spend 21 months as world number one. He has won 8 world championship titles across junior, senior, and team competitions. Ramy brought fluid movement, creativity, and groundbreaking shot making to the sport, and redefined how entertaining squash was for everyone. Ramy retired from pro squash in 2019, but is still active in the community. He is also exploring his passion for music as a singer. In this episode, we will chat about the mental strength behind Ramy's success, his mindset during competition, and the valuable lessons younger athletes can learn from his experiences. I also personally owe Ramy a lot. I started playing squash at his academy when I was 5, and it has changed my life in so many ways.
Hey Ramy, thank you so much for being here today.
Of
Ali and
course,
I are
pleasure, guys.
obviously huge fans of yours. As we were saying earlier, Ali has a poster of you in his room, and
Yeah, I can see
won't
it
lie,
behind it.
I used to always watch you on YouTube, and I tried to like replicate your backhand.
Oh wow, no, that's not healthy. Don't do that. That's the only swing that you shouldn't be imitating, man. It's I came up with it because that was the way I wanted to make. I wanted to fight consistency first because I changed a lot of rackets, and for me, rackets are very important. And I was used to one kind of racket for my whole life, and then changing. And then when I started changing rackets, I didn't find the sweet spot that I was used to since I was like 6 or 7. So I needed to change the way that my technique or my swing. But normally I was a very normal guy when I was younger. I would just play with my wrist up like. But then I
Yeah,
started finding different ways uh, to kind of achieve that consistency because I really believe that consistency is the key to making a top player versus a not top player, or like a top 10 player versus a not top player. So yeah, I just had to do these things and these things, and it really worked with me, and I felt more control over the racket, and I felt that like literally the racket was an extension of my hands. So yeah.
yeah,
So you've got to find that works, that thing or that technique or that movement or that swing that works for you. If mine worked with you, that's perfect. But if it didn't, it like because that like what I was doing is not it's not what's written in the books, right? It's not what's normal. But it just worked for me perfect. So you've got to find what works for you perfectly.
for sure. Yeah.
So, to kick us off, Ramy, a lot of people know you as the world champion and former number one, but not everyone knows your full journey. Could you walk us through how you started squash and what was your junior career was like?
Okay, so basically, I started when I was 6 years old. I was inspired by the, El Ahram tournaments, where they used to put the glass
Yeah,
court behind the pyramids, and
yeah.
that's when I saw it when I was 6 years old, and I was super fascinated and super inspired by how that looks, and asked my dad that I wanted to play that, and he took me to the courts, and I remember it was in a club called the Shams Club, and I went there. It was like all wall courts, and I started my journey from there. I used to play some. I was playing some swimming and some horse riding, and I was doing that alternative, like subsequently with the would squash for like a year, and I pushed the other games on the side, and I started focusing on squash because I really fell in love, and I remember I was super psyched that I just wanted to leave home all the time just to go play or just be around the squash court and see the players and just be around this atmosphere, this environment, and that was kind of a signal from my parents that this is something that he's really into, and I think that's something very important. The parents has to watch their kids closely. What are they super psyched towards, whether it was squash, whether it was other sport, whether it was something away from sports, but I think parents has to be super, super uh, smart about monitoring their kids on how or what are the kids drawn to, and that's I think that's one of the biggest things my parents gave me, that they gave me that push and support towards what I was drawn to. Yeah, and then and I start playing, and I start getting into the game more and more, and then our whole um culture at home started shifting into the idea of being number one, being the world champion. My dad, my mom would write me notes all over the home, all over my room door about, like, quotes about being a champion, about letting go of like current pleasures for bigger pleasures and like stuff like that. And then that's how mentally I started forming every kind of aspect that helped me win in the future, from mental toughness, consistency, commitment, discipline. So it really starts from when you're very young, and that's the easiest way to do it for sure, because you're like you're very flamboyant, right? You can be shaped easier when you're younger, and when you get older, things get a bit harder. But again, a lot of people started squash later on. Like my brother started when he was 11 or 12, and he got to number 11 in the world and 10 in the world, and that proves that if you still have the passion, and if you put your head into something, and not just the talent that works, of course you've got to work hard and have all these aspects that we just spoke about, that would get you super far, even further than what you think uh, you would ever achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Asal started when he was like he started when he was like also pretty old, like 14, 15. He wasn't
Yeah, yeah.
um
It doesn't
so
have to be yeah, it doesn't have to be when you're young. Yeah, you can it's I think it's more about the passion, and you shouldn't be delusional about things, right? You have to have the basics. If you can see the ball, if you have the how you say, like, instinctly you're good. But if you're like super far away from the game and you want to start from like 15, 16, like you shouldn't be expecting you're gonna be a world champ. Like, it's a bit
yeah.
harder. But
Mm.
again, like, there isn't nothing is impossible, but you have to be on the ground. You have to come to the grounds. You have to be a bit realistic about things as well.
So when you first broke through as a junior at 16 and suddenly had all these expectations placed on you, what was it like? And did it feel exciting or overwhelming, or were you not even really aware of the pressure yet? If you could
No,
talk
of
us.
course. Yeah, yeah, of course. No, of course, I was aware of the pressure, because squash, one of the biggest things about squash, and one of the biggest characteristics and traits that squash gives you as an individual, is that it teaches you how to be responsible from a very young age. And I was very responsible, and I understood the nature of the game since I was like 9 or 10. I was like, okay, I'm on my own in court. I can see my colleagues and other my friends and my colleagues and everyone, they're playing like soccer, volleyball, handball, whatever. Like, so they have people around them, they have people helping them on court. I don't have that. So the sense of responsibility grew on me from a very young age, and I'm grateful for that, because that helps you a lot in your practical life, not just in your career, in your sports, in your sport life. Um, and since I was like, I'm telling you, since 9 or 10, I was blessed. I would say plagued. I was blessed with an injury when I was 14. Like, I had ACL and meniscus, and at the same time, I had ACL first, and then I got meniscus, and then things started taking a different shift, that I had to depend on my brain, on my hands. I had to be very strategic about the way I play. I can't just hit the ball anywhere and run around, because don't have that luxury. And my legs have something off with them, and that gave me so much wisdom, so much sense of understanding of myself and of the game and of my surroundings, and that helped me so much all the way until I retired. But again, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's good, like, but again, the pressure gets to you, especially when you have injuries and everything, and it's very overwhelming. And I'm gonna tell you something that I never said before, that I went to therapy when I was 19. I think it was right after the second World Open, because my head got too big in a bad way, and I started thinking that I'm the only one in the world. Like, I'm the best of the best, and no one can ever beat me. And I didn't even want to talk to my friends. I didn't want. I got super cocky, since I was like at the age of 19 to like I'd say 19 to 21. And that was a very crucial time in my life that my parents noticed that I was changing as a person. I wasn't that guy or that a kid that they raised. So I started going to therapy. I went for like a year, year and a half, and it really helped me. It really helped me bring me back to the ground. Really helped me ground. It really helped ground me again. And I think everyone goes to that. If you don't experience that from like at some point in your life, if you're at the top of the world at something, or if you're winning at something, or if you're being the best at something, that's not normal. You've got to experience being crazy or being cocky or feeling like you're the best in the world. No one can ever, get to where you are, and that's these are all false delusions, right? And you have to understand that there's other players who are playing and they can beat you, and you can be the last player as well as you can be the first player. So these kind of understanding were too much for me because I want so much at a very young age. And that's another thing that kids and parents, a trap that kids and parents fall into. They think, I've seen firsthand kids who were super good when they're young, super good. And their parents started making them feel that they are the only legends in the world. Like they started treating them as legends, right? I remember I had my coach, his name is Ahmed Matani. He used to coach us when he was very young
Yeah.
for a very long time. And he used to tell me one of the very interesting things that he used to do. And now the modern how do you say it? Modern in Arabic we say التربية الحديثة. أنت فاهم علي? Like the modern way
Um,
of raising kids. Like that's the modern way of raising kids. Like, oh, that's gonna cause trauma or that's a bad thing or whatever. He never used to tell me when I used to win like let's say like the national championship. I was like, it's a huge thing. In my age and the age above me, he'd say not bad. And for me, that was like, what? Everyone wants to touch me because I am like I've won two events in the same event, and that doesn't happen. And he always made me feel that I needed to do more. I needed to do more, and that gave me the feeling of no, I have to be more ambitious. I have to do more. I have to do more. Versus someone telling you, "Wow, you're incredible. That's amazing. You've done." From a young age, when you feel like when someone keeps giving you a lot of I wouldn't say confidence, of course, because my parents were managing that as well. They would tell me, "Well done." They would encourage me. But sometimes when you get too much encouragement, when you do something well at a young age, because you can get caught up in praise and criticism. You can get caught up easily and quickly in praise. Someone can tell you, "Wow, you're incredible." So your head automatically starts feeling that you are above people, right? When you're older, you mature, so you start understanding. Okay, there's good in that, and there's bad in that, and everything comes with a cost. Everything comes with responsibility. So you start feeling a bit more grounded. You start understanding things. So that's one of the things, and one of the traps that it's very important from a young age that parents and coaches should equally balance. I wouldn't say don't say that if you do well, I'm not saying that like suppress the kid and tell them don't you're worth nothing, but I'm not saying that, and I'm also saying that you shouldn't make the kid feels that they are over the world and above the world. So and that's one of the things that and I couldn't manage even with my parents and like coaches trying to balance that. I still went to therapy and I still had some hard times, but it could have went a lot longer than that because I've seen people around me going crazy and I've seen kids in my age quitting even because things got too much to their heads. So yeah, so therapy is a very important thing and it's a very natural thing. And I think, everyone should go through this. And when you're like really good at something, I think I was really good at a very young age. It's very hard to balance and it's important to talk to someone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that because a lot of the times, a lot of the people we've interviewed, it's actually the opposite, where they have a lack of confidence, and so they have to
Right.
go to therapy or they need training for that. But it's so interesting because, obviously you were so talented but also hardworking since a young age, and how you were able to become so good that you actually needed to become like a little more humble.
And because I was very good and I fell down and it started crawling up me. I went overboard mentally. I didn't want to talk to anyone, maybe out of toughness, but at the same time I wanted to just stay on court. I don't want to talk. I just my happy place was just being on court, and that's not life. You can't do that. Like I just don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to do anything. I was doing a lot of breathing exercises and that kind of calmed me down a lot. but it was a double-edged sword. It kind of isolated me from the real world, and that was not good for me as a person, right? It was great for me on court. Squash was super easy for me. I remember it like at that breakthrough when I did that in Hong Kong and started beating Taylor Koo and John White. When I started beating these people that I never ever dreamt of being on court or never ever dreamt of being in the same tournament with, started beating them. My head started going all over the place. I just didn't understand how can I be me and still beat all these people. Like how can I deal with with these legends, but at the same time beating them? Like how can I do this socially and professionally? And I think it's a very hard thing to do. I used to get super nervous around them, but I had to come to a point where I had to let go of. I shouldn't give them too much respect, and I shouldn't give them less respect. Like that, and that comes with maturity and understanding by time.
Yeah. Throughout your career, you had a lot of rivalries, obviously, with, as you were saying, with Thierry Linku, Nick Matthew, and Mohamed Al-Sharbagi. And
Of course,
um, obviously, sometimes your matches were very close. What was your
of
mental
course.
process, or did you have any techniques you used in such close matches? And were there any lessons you learned or took away from them?
Right. So one of the biggest things for me was always understanding and believing and having the faith that I can and I will beat them and stay on top. I just had this belief and I trained myself and I used to sleep at night before I go into like right before I go into deep sleep. I would imagine before going into deep sleep, I would imagine myself winning, saying the speeches, like living the whole experience. And that kind of helped me, like that mental manifestation helped me a lot. But again, these players were exceptional, and these players are real champions because they were grinding and they were working so hard and they were super committed, super disciplined. And we kind of pushed each other in a way. We were super jealous. We were all super jealous. And if you're not jealous, you're not doing it. Got to be yes. So you've got to be very jealous. If you're not jealous, you're not you something is off. You've got to be very jealous, towards winning, towards beating them, towards being on top, being number one in the world, training harder, pushing yourself more, eating better than they are. Like I was always jealous, and that kind of gave me that kind of course it was very stressful, but it gave me that edge on court, right? So again, having rivalries and it was healthy at adversaries, but at some point there was a cost. So was a big cost to that. As much as squash gives me, as much as any sport gives you, as much as it takes things from you. So,
So obviously, squash is an individual sport, and we have to cope with losing between ourselves. How did you deal with tough losses, and what was your process of bouncing back? Was there anything specific you told yourself, or a rest routine you followed to stay confident?
as I was saying, honestly, it's just I mean, I used to get my confidence. Every player gets his confidence from a place. I used to get my confidence. I used to get my confidence from training hard, day in, day out. You know, making sure that whoever I'm playing with, we understand what does an hour and a half means, and we're using every single minute of this session, and structuring the weeks and the months towards the tournament and peaking and tapering. I used to be super structured, and that started happening after I started facing Nick Matthews, because Nick gave me that kind of structure. I understood that there has to be more science into the game because I was talented. I was playing. I was hitting nicks all over the place. There wasn't much pressure, and I was still making the breakthrough. But when I got there and I settled, I needed to be more consistent. I need to be more structured. And Nick was very structured, and I wanted to have that kind of edge as well. Um, and yeah, and honestly, I used to get that confidence from training day in, day out, and it was a legit job for me. Like I would do 2 3 hours in the morning, 2 3 hours in the evening. Like it was a legit job for me, and my cheat meals, my nutritionist, like everything was super super calculated, and I love that about myself. But again, it was stressful, but it was super worth it. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that because you said that obvious your confidence comes from training super hard, day in, day out. But You were mentioning earlier about how you had ACL injuries and whatnot. So obviously, when you're injured, you wouldn't be able to train as hard or as much. So when
Yeah.
you were during those times, how did you take care of yourself? And once you got back into competing, how do you think that affected your confidence?
I think for me that was the hardest part about my career. It wasn't winning and losing. Um, because winning has its cost and losing has its cost as well. But I think injuries were the toughest part. Injuries were very dark, super dark, because I know, like as I was just saying, I know like I can be out there and I can be beating these guys and I can be competing, I can be playing all tournaments. I know I can, mentally I'm capable of doing this. I know that, but my body wouldn't let me, and that was a very frustrating feeling, very frustrating feeling, and that taught me so much about patience. That taught me so much about appreciating health, appreciating walking normally on my feet around, just having a stroll around. That was like gold for me. I appreciate that so much. My health was. I appreciate my health. I appreciated everyone who was helping me, and I appreciated um, just sitting still or just making very simple movements with my body without having a problem. So that gave me another perspective, and I'm still super blessed and grateful for that.
Yeah,
Um,
and definitely going back onto the court must have felt scary, especially that
Very.
you would
That's a good
naturally be
point.
very afraid of injuring
For
yourself again.
sure, because your mind is naturally against you. Your mind is not naturally with you. It's naturally against you. Your mind is gonna tell you sit on the couch,
Yeah,
don't go up and train. Your mind is gonna tell you don't push these last 10 seconds. They don't matter. These
yeah,
last 5 seconds, these last 5 seconds don't matter. Just stop there. Your mind is gonna tell you, oh my God, you just got injured, and you're still gonna go on court and do the same move again. Are you insane? Like your mind is telling you that. And your mind is building walls. Your mind is trying to protect you all the time. Your mind in a way is like your parents. It's it's a it's the you it's a it's a very close thing to you, and it's trying to protect you so much, and it's trying to do the right thing for you from its perspective. Our parents, from a young age, they try to tell us, don't do this, don't do that. Stay safe, stay safe. Because naturally our parents wants us to stay safe and wants what's best for us and wants to protect us. That's the nature of that's God's nature that puts God put that in them. And we should be understanding to that because parents are almost 70 or 80% correct when they tell us don't do that, don't do. They are, but there's a 20% window that they are wrong. They could be, but again, how can you gauge that, right? Because your mind is the same. Your mind can tell you, no, no, don't do that move. Are you stupid? You just got injured from that move. Your mind can be right. Your mind can be right,
yeah,
and that's when you have to. That's when your character comes, and that's when you start taking decisions, and that's when you start understanding that you are responsible of your own acts, and that's when you have to understand that you cannot blame anyone else for your wins and losses. You
yeah,
know when you win, you can understand that if you win, I won. That's great and good for me, and you tap yourself in the back. But if you lose, you have to understand that maybe what they were saying, my mind, my parents, maybe they are right, in a certain area or a certain category. You've got to, yeah. So it's a very fine line, right?
yeah,
They're not wrong, but in a very, very small, silver lining way, it could be harmful to you actually to not do this, to stay away, to stay safe. No one, honestly, no one in the entire world were safe, stayed safe. Throughout their life, their career, and they were on top of the world at something that didn't
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
No one worked from 9 to 5 every day, and didn't try to venture into something else and take some risks. And they became the CEO of the biggest company. It didn't happen.
yeah,
It's not gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. So you've got to be able, and you've got to understand that you've got to take some risks. You have to. Otherwise, your life is gonna stay flat forever.
yeah. One of my favorite videos of you is winning the British Open in 2013 and
Yeah.
celebrating. I remember it was very personally significant for you. Can you tell us about the mental challenges you had during that period and how you maintained your mental toughness and kept going?
No, for sure. It was a very tough period for me because I was fighting a lot of like a big battle off court, and I was having people against me for like the first time in my life, and like um, I've always I've always been competing or like challenging myself, the players on court, training and pushing myself, my injuries. But I didn't think I would get to to the stage that I would be challenging or battling like an unnecessary really battle off court. But I had to win that battle, and I had to win that tournament in particular. So for me, so I can bring back my dignity. So it was for me that tournament wasn't about winning a match. It was a lot more than that for me, um, and honestly, it gave me a lot of strength in myself. That it taught me that at the very desperate times, at the very desperate times, what am I made of? So I'm very proud of myself for that tournament, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, Rami, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast. And before we wrap up, we have a tradition on this podcast where the previous guest leaves a question for whoever comes on next.
Right.
So the previous guest asked, are or were there any mental toughness podcasts, apps, or YouTube videos that you like to use and why?
Uh, Honestly, I scroll a lot, and I like my whole Instagram, my whole like Facebook, whatever. It's all about like motivational things, motivational podcasts. I just love to learn daily from anyone and from everything, from the people I meet online and offline, from the people around me. There's always something new you can learn every day. So I don't have like a favorite thing or just one thing, but I just love going forward, honestly. I
Yeah.
I keep learning from whoever I cross paths with. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So, what would you like your next question, the next question to be for the next guest?
Is the next guest a sports guy?
Yeah, definitely squash guy.
So a
Uh,
squash guy? So the next one would be uh, what makes you what makes you wake up every day and push yourself? Like, what's your why? Why are you doing
yeah,
that?
yeah. Thank you so much, Rami,
Of
for
course,
coming
guys.
on
Of course.
today's
Of
episode.
course.
It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Same here.
Uh,
Same here.
yeah,
Thank
No,
you
I
so
loved
much,
it,
Rami.
guys. No, of course, pleasure, and good luck with the podcast, and hopefully we'll meet soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. Of course.
yeah. Thank you, thank
Take
you.
care, guys.